Hey, what's going on, everybody? Thank you all for tuning in to the show. Got my crew with me, Darnell and Tyler. I'm Trey, and we're coming your way with the 39th edition of the Don't Kill the Messengers podcast. First thing we're about to get into is the NBA. We have a little news that has come out this week. We're about to start off with Chris Bosh, and he's having trouble, medical issues, supposedly, with the Heat. So, what do you guys think about this current situation with him probably not playing for the Miami Heat again, according to some news from Mr. O'Reilly?
Well, according to some sources, he may never play again.
Yeah.
It's just very unfortunate. It seems like Chris Bosh still has a handful of years left in the league, but, health should be first and foremost, really, in every athlete's life. If you find yourself at too high of a risk, you really need to consider stepping away and being serious about it. I think the last thing we want to see is for Chris Bosh or anybody to, collapse on the court and potentially die there. I think everybody has seen that 30 for 30 without bias, where he basically died right there on the court. Nobody ever wants to see anything like that happen. And, if Chris Bosh actually has, the potential to not play again, maybe he should take it serious and step away. I feel like he can still have a very successful professional career in a front office somewhere, potentially as an assistant coach. I feel like possibilities are still endless for him. He's a smart guy. He's a well-educated guy, just very knowledgeable of the game. And, I think he can look back at his career, won the championship a couple times, was a solid player in Toronto and Miami. And, I don't think he has anything to frown on if he chooses to step away.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's a tough situation. I see both sides. Bosh has been, we were talking about this earlier. Sorry about that. But Bosh, he's been working hard, trying to get back on the court. Has been trying to keep himself in shape. I assume he's been working with his doctors, taking his blood thinners and stuff to take down this clotting issue. So, I mean, you're rooting for him to be able to get back on the court because it would be an awesome story. But then you also look at it from the Heat's point of view. I don't know if it's a business decision, liability decision, or if they're just truly worried about him. But their doctors aren't clearing him. So, you got to understand them saying, hey, we can't put you on the court if you can't clear a physical. So it's tough to hear. It looks like at best, probably the Bosh is going to be with another team if somebody feels like taking a chance on allowing him to play on blood thinners and, risking him possibly taking a bad hit and a cut and bleeding out, to put it bluntly. But, it's just tough. Like, no, he hasn't been with the Heat his whole career, but that's where he's done his winning. He's been a big part of that franchise. It's tough to see. And going with what Ty said, even if he doesn't play, he's going to have a future. He's a very eloquent guy, smart. He's done the rounds on ESPN, on the shows, and seems like he would be a fit as an analyst and would work out well with that. And he seems to have a smart business mind. I just hope something works out well for him.
Yeah, and and I think to top it all off, I think everybody can agree Chris Bosh is a likable guy. He's a respectable guy, a stand-up guy. You never heard too much about him off the court. It was all on the court. He just seems like, a kind of guy that can get along in any kind of an environment. He'll find something in common with everybody. So, he just is one of those likable guys that nobody has, anything bad to say about. And I would agree. I can see him being an analyst somewhere, or, a sideline reporter, analyst type. he'll find something, and I think a lot of that has to do with just the kind of guy he is.
Yeah, I agree with both of you guys, both your assessments. Kind of like when I first heard this, the first thing that came up to my head, I was thinking alongside with Darnell, was this, a business issue with the Heat, because I believe last year, I believe his actual doctor cleared him to play, but I think it was the Miami Heat's team doctors that kind of withheld him from playing.
Yeah.
I believe, yeah. So, this kind of makes me, think if it's more of a business decision than actual, just let him go out there and play type of thing. But, at the end of the day, Bosch, he needs to really take his health in line. If the doctors truly cleared him to play and he can go out there and do it, I have no problem with him following, continue to follow his dreams at all. But, if the Miami Heat, if they feel, this isn't the first time he's had a blood clot issue, if they feel, this is too risky for them, I can understand that too. I just hope that, both parties can come to an agreement, and get everything just settled. So, Bosch, if he needs to go play anywhere else, he's fully healthy and he can do that. He can go for it, but if Miami doesn't want to take that risk or whatever, I can understand that either way. So, just like I said, he really needs to just put his health first, and whatever decision he makes, just hopefully he's doing the right thing. Anything else on Chris Bosh, guys?
No.
All right. Next thing we're about to get into was Kevin Garnett. He reached a buyout agreement with the Timberwolves and retired. What went through you guys' minds the first time you heard it?
I mean, no shade to him, but it was just like, yeah, it was time to go. Mm-hmm. He's not the KG we all remember anymore. He really didn't put up any kind of numbers of means last year. It was a nice story for him coming back to the Timberwolves, finishing where he started. So that's a cool story. But yeah, his days as an all-star were pretty far behind him. So, I mean, it was a good decision. Glad it was a mutual decision. And like I say, he's going out through the door he came in through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I guess to build on top of that point, some people, like you said, it was just time. Some people just kind of linger around in the league, and you just kind of wonder when they're going to retire. And I felt like it kind of got to that point with Kevin Garnett a little bit. But, I think the feel-good part of the story is, like you said, he comes back to the Timberwolves and retires as a Timberwolf, where he started, where he had a lot of success in his career. Now, granted, he won his title in Boston, but his days in Minnesota are what he's remembered for, I think. The young, dominant KG was there in Minnesota. And I felt like when he went back to the Timberwolves, everybody kind of knew this is going to be it. I think if you thought he was going to still stick around for a long time, you're probably lying to yourself. I know when he went back to Minnesota, I said, all right, the days are numbered. It was just kind of an obvious thing when someone who was with an organization for so many years goes back. You're always wondering, is this going to be it? Are we getting close? Now, we have LeBron who did the same thing, but LeBron still has years. He has years on him still, but I don't see him going anywhere else. So with Kevin Garnett, just another one of the greats in my lifetime to take a seat and realize that this is it for him. So Kevin Garnett had a good career. I think one of my most memorable moments of him is when he won the title with Boston, and
anything is possible.
Yeah, screaming into the microphone, anything is possible. But I mean, it was just one of those moments. It was candid. It was KG being KG, and just one of the players in my lifetime that everybody was just waiting to win a title. And, did it with the Boston 3 party, and he has one on his record. So I guess the next step for him would be Hall of Fame if he gets voted into it, and only time will tell that.
Yeah. Well, I believe he's going to get voted in there. So, dude's
and I do too.
Yeah, absolute beast. Really gonna miss KG, man. He's one of the guys in the '90s that got me interested in the game. I just love watching him play, and just seeing him just go out on the court. I believe he was a guy that was all bark, no bite. He was a guy that loved to trash talk. And just go out there and get in people's faces in the game. But, he always went out there to play, get mad rebounds, could post up. And he was just a fun player to watch. And I just absolutely love the guy's energy. So he's going to be missed, man. There's not going to never, ever be another KG out there on that court. So it was just an absolute pleasure to watch that guy play through the years he's been in the NBA. I think he's looking at the total amount of money made, I think he's the richest NBA player of all time based on contracts. So the guy's just a beast, man. He definitely earned the money. He was just absolutely amazing to watch.
Yeah, just side note, like thinking about it, you guys brought up Hall of Fame. Like that class will be KG, Tim Duncan, Kobe Bryant.
Yeah.
Who gives the speech last?
They all speak at one time. I mean, there's really no other fair way to do it with those three.
Yeah, just,
But to give a serious answer, I bet Kobe would go last there.
Yeah,
to give a serious answer.
Kobe would probably close it out because, Duncan would probably just walk up and say thank you and walk back off.
Yeah, he's too respectful of a guy.
Yeah.
But, yeah, as long as there's no Mamba out, I'll be happy. Yeah. But that's the only thing I hope he keeps that one in the Staples Center.
Yeah. We were talking, we're about to if you guys don't have anything else to say about KG, we were talking about, Paul Pierce is next, but there's another person that's retired too. That was Mo Williams this week for the Cavaliers. So 3 players that we heard about that were going to retire. Thought about the whole Paul Pierce and, Mo Williams, if you got anything to say about him.
Yeah, and just to add, Paul Pierce is going to retire after this next season. So he'll kind of get a send-off party too. I don't think it'll be to the level Kobe got or Mariano Rivera or David Ortiz is getting. I don't think it's going to be that level of a send-off. But, Paul Pierce is very respected around the NBA, very liked. And once again, just another player where we're going to get to watch him for a year and just kind of see what happens. I would have preferred him to be a Celtic his whole career, and I wonder if he wishes he stayed there now that the team they've kind of assembled over the last few years. But, Paul Pierce, just the staple of the Celtics. To me, he is, the Celtics of my lifetime since I didn't get to see Larry Bird or McHale or any of them. So, Paul Pierce was, Mr. Celtic for me, and just once again another good player in my lifetime. Another really one of the other great players so far in my lifetime. I'm kind of throwing around great really easily here, but in my lifetime, Paul Pierce is probably in the top 15 in my lifetime. So, it's just one of those situations where somebody else is ready to take an exit, and you can't really blame a guy for choosing to walk away.
Yeah.
Yeah, Paul Pierce was a pretty great talent for his time. He has the oldest of old man games on the court. Like, he was never exciting to watch, but he's always a smart player. Yeah, he hit big baskets. And, he got himself a ring, too. So, and really can't knock what he's done. He's not an elite player like he used to be. Same with KG. He still has more in the tank than KG and would probably help more teams out wherever he went. But, he's making that conscious decision. I don't think there's anything he has to accomplish or that he's leaving on the table. So, I think it's good for him to get one more good year in, beef up his resume a little bit more to try to help his chances for the Hall.
Mm-hmm. Now, could you guys see, any way or form with Paul Pierce he possibly goes back to the Celtics at all for like a little trade or anything from finish the season off at all? Or
that would be interesting because I don't know if a trade would necessarily happen there. I still, kind of like Darnell said, I still think that Paul Pierce has more to offer to a team.
Yeah.
So I think even if it's late in the year, he's still with the Clippers, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're a playoff team, so they're going to want him on that roster. They're going to want him for leadership and really just his talent, because he'll still be able to go out there and give a lot for 20 minutes in a game. So I don't see him going back to Boston, but I wouldn't be surprised if Boston retires his number.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's not going back there this season, but probably once the season's over and free agency and stuff begins, he'll probably sign one of those ceremonial one-day contracts just so
he can retire
at Celtic.
Yeah.
That would be guess.
Yeah, that would be. Yeah, I could definitely see that happening too. So, just have to see. Guys, anything left for the NBA that you would like to add?
No.
All right, we're about to go to NCAA. First of all, what was you guys' thoughts on your team's performance last week?
Do I have to?
Yeah, talk about that sorry ass school, man.
I'll take it from last week. They won. Saturday was Murphy's Law. Everything that could go wrong did. Tyler O'Connor threw a lot of balls to the other team. He was under duress the whole time. A freshman quarterback from Wisconsin basically looked like Joe Montana with some of the dimes he was dropping on the field. And we had no linebackers. So, it was just a perfect storm, and they looked terrible. Running backs fumbling, running backs not being able to get yardage. I think as a team, there was only 70-some yards rushing. Very bad showing. My only hope is they can bounce back from it, or because, with Notre Dame taking another bad loss, it makes you wonder really, like I said last week, what team is really good, what team isn't.
Yeah.
So, I don't think Michigan State is as bad as they looked. It was a terrible game, but I think they're capable of a lot more. They really have to rebound from that one.
Well, that was their, first big test of the season. You think that was just, them being nervous, Connor's, first big game?
I don't think it was nerves. I just think it was he just had a terrible day, and the O-line had a terrible day as well.
Yeah.
And when your quarterback is speeding up a clock in his head, things go downhill from there. I expected Wisconsin to be stout against the run, but when your quarterback can't push linebackers off, then it's going to be a terrible day for everybody, and that's basically what happened. Too many turnovers, and like I said, on the defensive side, not having Riley Bulla, Reschke got hurt. That's two key linebackers. It's going to be tough winning games when you don't have two players in the heart of your defense and your quarterback's playing terrible.
Yeah.
And Tran, I guess I would say that Notre Dame game was really their first test. That was on the road. That was a night game.
Yeah.
So really, this was their second test. I think I think Wisconsin just got good tape on them and figured it out. Wisconsin's no slouch. In reality, I don't think Michigan, like Darnell said, I don't think Michigan State's as bad as they looked. I think they just kind of fell into a slump week after a big win. And that happens to a lot of teams.
Yeah, they ran into their buzzsaw, so hopefully they learned from it. And I mean, they gave me a nice hangover Sunday. Hopefully they do better this weekend.
Yeah, y'all got Indy this week, I believe.
High octane offense, so defense is gonna have to come to play.
Yeah.
All right, Ty, what about you? What about that Michigan, man?
Well, I guess I have a little bit of a different story to tell, but I still have a lot of concerns for this team moving forward. Just a nice 49-10 win. Really looked easy. They made it look easy. Shut out Penn State in the first half, gave up 10 in the second half, which really is still nothing to complain about. But the thing Michigan had going for them was their run game. Davion Smith led the way with 12 carries for 107 yards. Karan Higdon, 9 carries, 81, and 2 touchdowns. I mean, Michigan had 6 rushing touchdowns, which no team would ever say no to. But, as good as the offensive line opened up holes and the running backs took advantage of it, what still concerns me a little bit is the passing game. Now, granted, Amara Darboh, 7 receptions, 44 yards to lead the way, but we had 1 passing touchdown, but it was only for 3 yards. I feel like when we start playing, more in the heart of our schedule, we're going to have to find the end zone through the air. We can't Michigan can't start to grow one-dimensional on the ground. If they start to do that and kind of not necessarily abandon the pass game, but not capitalize on the pass game, it's going to become obvious and teams are going to notice it. So, I mean, Wilton Speight didn't have a terrible game, but, I mean, he completed 21 passes on 34 attempts, but only for 189 yards. That, in my opinion, that needs to be bigger yardage for 21 completions. Average 5.6 yards a pass, or a pass completion. So, once again, I want to see the passing game become more relevant to open up the run. I don't want to see us just have a comfortable running game and run the ball. Like I said, I just think a team like a Michigan State, an Ohio State, Wisconsin next week, they're going to be able to shut us down more if we grow one-dimensional. So, I mean, it worked against Penn State. If it works, keep going to the well, but teams are going to notice it. Now, I think Michigan's going to have a little bit of a different playbook opening up for Wisconsin next week. I don't think we're going to see, 6 rushing touchdowns. I don't think we're going to see over 300 yards on the ground. If we see that again, I'll be very surprised. I'm going to expect to see a passing touchdown or 2 next week. I'm going to expect at least 1 or 2 on the ground again. So, I mean, next week's going to be really Michigan's first true test, coming, 5 weeks into the season. So, it'll be a good game, a top 10 matchup. It'll be a good test. The defense is going to have to show up. The Wisconsin offense didn't look as shaky as I thought they would be. So they look poised and ready to go. Their defense also likes to force turnovers, so Michigan's going to have to protect the ball. But overall, I think Michigan has handled their business through 4 weeks. They've won all their games fairly big. So I'm actually excited for next week because I think next week's going to give us a better test of what Michigan team we actually have.
Yeah, I can't wait for this game. We're going to talk about that a little bit more, but yeah, it's going to them versus Wisconsin, man. That's going to be a good game to watch for sure. Really going to see what both of these teams are going to be made of. But, anything else to add about your teams, guys?
Give me a win this Saturday.
All right.
I would be concerned if Michigan State does not get the win.
Yeah.
So I will be. You'll hear all of my concern next week if we don't win.
Yeah. Now, unfortunately, I have to work Saturday, or I was going to go.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was going to go. I only live about an hour from Bloomington, so okay. I was I was going to drive over if I wasn't working, but I work, so won't be there.
What's up, man? All right, up next, just kind of caught me a little off guard, just with the timing and everything, but Les Miles, he got fired. This was kind of a shocker to me. I thought LSU would have at least let him finish the season, just because, right now I don't think there's a lot of good coaches out right now to focus on to see if you can bring to your team. I don't think the coaching market is pretty good right now for NCAA football. But Les Miles got fired. I could definitely see this happening just with the performance of LSU over the last couple of years. He's not winning like he's used to. Like he used to with LSU, but this kind of just caught me a little off guard just with the whole timing and everything. How did you guys feel about this when you first heard it?
I wasn't shocked in the least, actually. I feel like that game was a game where basically whoever loses, their coach was about to get fired. It was, to use the pro wrestling analogy, that was like a loser leaves town match.
Yeah.
And LSU, they took the L and they took it in Les Miles fashion. His problem has always been clock management. That was a clock management type loss.
Yeah.
Not getting the ball snapped and thinking they won, but after review, they didn't get it. So, and I think from LSU's point of view, he was basically fired last year, but the school rallied around him and brought him back. I think they wanted to strike while the iron was hot in their direction. Get rid of him when he's going to have the least amount of sympathy available. So, couple bad losses to start the year. LSU was already annoyed that they're not competing with Alabama. That they're used to winning some championships. It's been a while, especially since Saban came to Tuscaloosa. So I think they just knew that was their one chance, because if they would have let him to finish the season and somehow he mess around and beat Alabama and cost them a chance at going to the national championship game, they wouldn't have been able to fire him again. They wanted him out. They wanted to start new. This was their chance. They took it.
Yeah, and now having 2 losses through 4 weeks, they can still go to a bowl game, but their playoff chances are most likely over.
Yeah.
Once again, you're looking at a couple teams in the SEC, probably most notably Alabama and Texas A&M, who are both undefeated right now. So they have 2 games on you. It would take both of them to blow it and help from other conferences just to even be relevant in the picture again, which I don't think any of us see happening, since last week we were already saying some 2-loss teams are out.
Mm-hmm.
So, I agree with Darnell. Want to strike when the iron's hot, do it when you're the second you're out of the playoff run. Granted, you could say it was a controversial loss, mainly because I don't think anybody really knew what was happening during the moment.
Yeah.
You think you win the game, and since every scoring play is reviewed, you shouldn't have had the play, and it was obvious. So it was definitely a tough one for LSU to lose, especially with the dramatics it brought. But once again, I don't think they should have even struggled with Auburn in the first place. Like Darnell said, I think he said it last week, they just don't have quarterback development. That offense is struggling big time. Leonard Fournette, who a lot of people would have put as a finalist for Heisman, isn't even in the talk. I think he missed a week, but still, he's not even doing anything notably close to what he did last year. And
everybody's just focusing in on him,
man. And unfortunately, all of that reflects on the head coach. If your players don't perform, it's the head coach's fault. And also, like Darnell said, when you're used to winning 9-10 games a year and you have 2 losses through 4 weeks, it's not looking too good to boosters. It's not looking too good to campuses. So really, I'm not surprised by the fact that he's been fired, but I am a little surprised in the fact that he hasn't been able to save himself from being fired. Just the idea that, I mean, you'd think after last year he would have got a clue and got this team turned around, but he just hasn't. So LSU can still make a bowl game and still potentially play on New Year's Day against, I don't know, some Big Ten school in the Gator Bowl, but that looks like that'll be a highlight for them this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably the best they're going to get. I don't know, just Les Miles has always had his own way about going about things. He's never been that traditional coach. They call him the gambler and the hat. Yep, the Mad Hatter. And he lived by it and basically died by it. He was stuck in his ways. I mean, people have been calling him out for the past 2 or 3 years now, saying, how can't you develop a quarterback with all the 4- and 5-star talent that you have coming through there? I mean, he's had quarterbacks who were decent enough to get him there, but I mean, over the last few years with, Jordan Jefferson and what they had going this year, they didn't have it. They became so one-dimensional, and with Les Miles' penchant for, taking risks, he didn't have the talent to save him on it, or the player development to save him on him.
Yeah. Now, where can you guys see him coaching next?
I mean, it's probably going to be a year and some change before he gets that next job. But I mean, pretty sure another power conference school is going to take a shot at him. He's still got too good of a track record to not bring him in and see if maybe a change of scenery might help him.
Yeah. The one thought that's flowing through my mind about where he could end up next is we've seen this happen a couple of times. I believe we've seen it in the NFL. I don't know if we've seen it in college in recent years, but I think there could be a coaching switch. I could see Notre Dame also firing Brian Kelly at the end of the year, and Les Miles ends up at Notre Dame, and Brian Kelly ends up at LSU. I would not be surprised if that potentially happens. I do think Brian Kelly is going to get fired as well at Notre Dame, especially after they lost their 3rd game this year to Duke. I think his time's just up there. I think a lot of people had higher hopes for them than they probably deserved this year, but I don't think anybody would have picked them to be 1-3 through 4 weeks. I know I definitely didn't. So I could see him potentially ending up at Notre Dame because Notre Dame would be willing to bring a guy like Les Miles into there. And I think they would be able to get a better quarterback at Notre Dame than they would be able to at LSU just because of the name Notre Dame. They've kind of been known to get the quarterbacks. So I wouldn't be too surprised if he somehow ends up at Notre Dame. For some reason, that's just kind of sticking with me, and it sounds like a good story, so I'm going to roll with it.
Well, I'm about to poke a little hole in it.
Okay.
Because, I mean, me personally, I feel like LSU is a far better job than Notre Dame.
I would agree.
It's in the SEC. I think the recruiting base is better. That's why I don't think you should be able to get a better quarterback at Notre Dame than LSU. Because Notre Dame, of course, you can get good players. Good players will want to go there.
Notre Dame does have a tradition, though. I mean, overall, traditionally Notre Dame is a better football school than LSU.
Since when?
If you look at the history of they're like second place in national championship.
If you look 100 years back,
Newt Rockne.
Yeah,
I'm just saying tradition that could help play an effect on people
over the
going
last
there.
20 years. Who's won more national championships?
All I'm saying is
over both of your lifetimes, who's won more national championships?
Well, and to be fair, Trey, I didn't say a better school. I said they just get better quarterbacks.
Yeah.
That's all I said.
I'm not, I'm not trying to argue anything. I'm just saying, traditionally Notre Dame is a better school than LSU.
And Darnell, I agree. You should be able to get a better quarterback at LSU. You should.
But I can agree that's a possibility. But I'm just saying, in this day and age, no. Like Notre Dame is not a better football school than LSU. It's just
I would agree.
Not in my lifetime, and I'm older than both of you. Yeah. I'm just saying, like, yes, if you go back to if you're looking at the late '80s back, then yeah, you might have a point there. But in this modern era, Notre Dame they got a little bit of a rise with getting Brian Kelly there because he got them to a national championship game. They got housed, but at least he got them there. LSU has a couple national championships in the last 10 years, 15 years.
Yeah.
So, but I could see Les Miles going there, but I'm just not sure because even though you can recruit there, you still have to hold the academic standards that Notre Dame doesn't back down on.
True.
They do take education pretty seriously there. Not saying that they're not players that don't take their education seriously at LSU, but if you are a player that doesn't take your education quite as seriously, they can work with you to try to get you in there. That's not happening at Notre Dame. So some of the players that Les would be used to getting he wouldn't be getting anymore.
True. Now and I guess the reason I say that is because I feel like Notre Dame would be willing to pay for Les Miles. And I think at this point, Les Miles will chase. And I think Les Miles will chase the money. I
don't disagree at all.
Yeah, and I'm not saying he still doesn't want to win. I mean, I think anybody who's a coach just has that deep inside of them, that winning mentality. Yeah. So, I mean, I solely think it would be a business decision for him. I don't see an NFL team reaching to him. I don't think he wants to coach in the NFL. I think he likes the college environment. But I just think that Notre Dame is most likely going to be the high-profile job, with Les Miles being the high-profile coach.
I mean, I think that's a shot, but I mean, if I'm guessing, I think he might actually stay around SEC country. That Auburn job is probably going to open up. He'll probably be on the short list there. Maybe one of the lower schools in the division might want to take a look at him, but I think he's used to those surroundings. I think there's a better chance there. Like I actually kind of pencil in Auburn for him.
Okay. Hey, at least I'm not getting too crazy and saying he's going to go be an assistant coach at Michigan.
I was waiting to hear that.
I mean, has it crossed my mind? Yes, it has. Do I think it's going to happen? Absolutely not.
I bet you old Jimmy might make the phone call to see.
He's talked about bringing him in as an honorary captain.
Yeah.
But that's just Harbaugh being Harbaugh.
Yeah.
Now, who do you guys who could you possibly see going to LSU?
Brian Kelly.
You kind of went ahead of the thing.
Yeah, a little bit. And I'll just go back. Once again, I think that even though Brian Kelly's been to a national championship in Notre Dame, I think his time's just up. Having really a terrible year so far. Once again, I think Brian Kelly has shown he can develop some talent. Once again, he just has a bad situation in a defensive coordinator at Notre Dame right now. Their defense can't stop anybody. So if Duke's scoring over 30 points on you, anybody can score 30 points on you. So I'm looking at that situation. I think Brian Kelly is going to be let go. once again jumping a little ahead of you, Trey, but just I could see Brian Kelly being there. Kind of the same situation where I could see Les Miles at Notre Dame, a higher profile name for a higher profile job.
Yeah, I mean, as far as LSU goes, it's a tough call. I mean, they'll be looking to make a splash, so I'm kind of wondering if they make a call to a certain offensive coordinator in Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't beat them, join them. Try to take some of the coaching there and see if it helps you get over that hump. So, I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if they try to get themselves some lane in their lives. But I mean, if Ed Orgeron, who's going to be their interim, if he can actually turn some things around, maybe they give him another year or two to show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, possibly with that. You brought up the whole Lane Kiffin thing, Darnell. I was joking around with my cousin Derek. He was on here a few weeks ago, and I asked him about that. He flat out told me, "Hell no, he shouldn't go to LSU." So that was just his thoughts on there. My whole thinking about it was, Lane Kiffin, he's making a name for himself right now as an offensive coordinator. He's been drawing up some great plays, and he's helped Alabama win some championships. So I think that, just with him, it'd be a great way for him to start his head coaching career over again in college football, just, with the instances that he had in Tennessee and USC. I think that would be good for him to start over in the SEC. So the powerhouse conference, and getting recruits and everything like that. But, just the fact he's just making a name for himself, I just think that, if anybody was to look at, I already told you that I don't think the coaching market is that high right now for college football. Mm-hmm. There's not really any names that you see that's like, I should go for him. But I just think, with what he has on his resume right now, the success he's having with Alabama, I think he's one of the top guys that you would go for if you would needed a coach on your team, just based on the market right now for the coaching in the NCAA. Now, Tyler, you did get ahead of us on here, man, but so I ask you, Darnell, can Kelly get ready to pack his bags for a Notre Dame departure?
The way the season's going, yes. I mean, unless he makes some kind of epic turnaround, I mean, just the team's not performing, and just he's had his issues with the camera catching him on the sideline, just being a maniac. I think some of that stuff might start to add up. You can deal with a lot of that stuff if you're winning.
Yeah.
But when your coach, I mean, he's kind of built up that reputation that he's an a-hole.
Yeah.
So
my way or the highway.
Yeah. So I mean, Notre Dame, they want desperately to get to what we were talking about, get back to that team that everybody tuned in on to watch every Saturday when they were on top of the college football world, but it's just not happening. So I think they make that next try at it because, over recent tradition, Notre Dame they haven't stuck with coaches very long. If you're not performing, they get them out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So Brian Kelly's had probably the longest tenure because he gave them that hope in getting to a national championship game, but it seems like it's been a slow descent from there.
Yeah, just looking at Notre Dame's schedule moving forward, they have a game coming up against Syracuse that they should probably win, but in a couple of weeks they play Stanford. Don't see them winning that. Then they play Miami, Florida. That game could be really tough. Virginia Tech could be tough, second to last game of the year. Now, I don't know if they could beat USC. They're going to struggle to make a bowl game this year. So if Brian Kelly can't make a bowl game, Notre Dame won't. They won't take that.
Yeah, I think he'll be out.
Notre Dame
he can't make a bowl game.
Notre Dame has too much self-respect for that.
Yeah.
Especially not just because they didn't make a bowl game. I think it's just the fact of not making a bowl game and looking really bad doing it. Like, Notre Dame, like Darnell said, has always had that short leash. I mean, Brian Kelly's been around for the last handful of years, but in college football, you're not promised a job if you don't produce. So he had the 1 year, and I think a lot of people were expecting playoff last year, and they just unfortunately lost to Clemson and Stanford last year. And then starting the year with 3 losses out of 4 games, once again, it's time to cut that leash. They haven't looked good. Brian Kelly doesn't really seem to have a hold of this team. They've suspended players. Players have been asked to leave the team. It's just a downhill situation. So, yeah, I think he's packing his bags. He'll find another job, though. He's a good coach. He'll find something.
Yeah. All right, guys. What game are you looking forward to watching the most this week?
In reality, there should be 2 obvious answers here. I think the first being just because we're in the Big Ten section of the United States, Michigan, Wisconsin, 4 versus 8. That's just, I think, a big time matchup. It'll shake some picture in the Big Ten. I know, Darnell, you're probably hoping for a Wisconsin win to keep that east side a little open.
Yeah.
But in reality, it should be a good game. Michigan's handled everything that's come their way so far, and this is just going to be their first true test. So I think we're really going to see what Michigan's made of this week. Win or lose, we're going to see who they are. So I think that's going to be a great matchup. And then secondly, the other top 10 matchup, Stanford and Washington. Another top 10 matchup. 2 good-looking programs out of the Pac-12, which I didn't think would really have a great-looking program this year. Stanford really kind of squeaked one out last week against UCLA, but still they fought hard to the very end, and you got to play till the clock hits 0, and you win the game when you play for the full 60 minutes. So Washington being a little bit more of a surprise team this year, kind of coming to the forefront, what seems to be out of nowhere, but a lot of people saw this coming, them being a top 10 team, and this will be a good test for both those schools as well. So I think those are kind of the 2 obvious picks for a good game this week.
Wow.
Well, and I think you can pencil me in for Louisville Clemson.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say that one time.
Jeez, so there's 3 top 10 matchups.
Yeah.
Jeez, I forgot that one.
Yeah, I thought when you said Stanford and Washington, I said, wow, over Clemson and Louisville. I was like, wow, okay.
Well, okay, I guess
I loves his pack.
Okay, now let me give a little explanation as to why I picked that one. I did say that I thought a Pac-12 team is going to miss out on the playoff again. And I think this helps paint the picture in the Pac-12 to who's really the cream of the crop out there. So, to me, now granted, that other matchup is going to be great. Don't get me wrong. I'll let Darnell touch on that one. But for me, I think this could potentially show us who's coming out of the Pac-12 this year, since it looks like the Big 12 may struggle again. Granted, a team could still make it out of the Big 12, but I think we may see a team out of the Pac-12 this year.
Yeah, I mean, the way it's going, it's not definitely. They have a good shot at it. I'm looking at Louisville Clemson, 3 versus 5. So top 5 matchup. That's
the matchup.
Yeah. So, and of course, looking to see that quarterback battle between Jackson and Watson. That's looking to see a lot of points put up in this game. It's going to be a track meet. This video game football, so I'm excited to watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah, got some good ones this week, man. Just with Wisconsin and Michigan. Michigan, first of all, Harbaugh, he's been running them off his lot this offseason, so it's going to be his first big test of the season against a Wisconsin team that looked just magnificent last week. So definitely going to have that one. Going to be watching that one for sure. Stanford and Washington, that's going to be good Pac-12 football to watch. See if, oh my goodness, my guy for Stanford,
Christian McCaffrey.
McCaffrey, yeah, to see if he can carry his team to another win. So that's going to be another one to watch. And then just especially the one that I have picked is Louisville versus Clemson. You know, I had Deshaun Watson just hyped up. I thought he was just going to kill it with the Heisman run this year, but the guy to beast, Lamar Jackson, who's, you know, just taking the league by storm this year. So that duel of the quarterbacks, that's going to be my number one game to watch this Saturday. So.
And I'll admit, I kind of feel bad. I forgot about that one.
I was
feel
like,
real
you
bad.
said Stanford and Washington over that one. I was like, wow.
And I guess, like I said, because I was talking all offseason about how I think the Pac-12 is going to miss out again, and looks like they got two real deal teams out there. So I'm kind of looking to see who's going to jump forward in that conference. So, but yeah, all three are going to be great. You know, I think with that Clemson Louisville game, I'll be more curious to see if Clemson's defense can even keep up. You know, I'm surprised we haven't seen, you know, teams kind of do the fake an injury just to slow them down yet. I wonder if we're going to start seeing that in the near future, because really they roll and they roll fast.
Yeah.
So Lamar Jackson's for real. Saw a stat today. He is tied for third among all teams in the country in touchdowns scored. He himself is tied for third among all teams in touchdowns scored. Think about that. Think about that. Through 4 weeks.
And amongst boys right now.
So, something.
All right, fellas. You guys ready for the pick'ems?
Yep.
I guess.
All right. So, we're not doing bad in college, you know. I'm leading the pack, 10 for 13.
Yeah.
I went strong last week, man. I went 5 for 5 with the NCAA picks. So
I think you cooked the books.
Yeah. So did
Trey's marking himself against the spread, us on the actual.
Yeah. And of course, you know, you losers, you're tied 8 for 13. So get on my level.
Now we're losers. Okay.
All right. I was going to do Stanford first, but we're going to get the one that's less important out the way with. Tennessee versus Georgia. Tennessee, they have a -3.5 point lead for the spread in this game. Who do you guys have?
I'm going to go with Tennessee. They've been a strong second half team all year after really what seems like they come slow out of the gates every single game. But they figured out in the second half, and they end up winning the game. I'm going to take Tennessee in this one by a score of 27-21.
All right.
Yeah, I'm going with Tennessee as well. They got over that Florida hump finally last week. Looked good in the second half. It was looking rough early, but they
down 21.
Yeah, but they showed some toughness and came through and took it out. I don't think Georgia has the talent as of yet to beat Tennessee. They're working their way back, but I'm just not seeing it. So I am going with Tennessee as well. 28-21.
Yeah. Just kind of funny last week, man. I sent you guys a text like during the first half of the Tennessee game, just dissing them. Mm-hmm. And then like second half, they just look like a completely different team. Yeah. You know, I was kind of nervous about this one at first. I think Georgia, they're going to compete with them, but seeing that second half team, man, I got to go with Tennessee over this one. I think if they play like that, how they did in the second half, I think there's no way that they should lose this game. So I'm going to go Tennessee, 28-20, Georgia versus Georgia. Up next, we'll go Stanford versus Washington. Washington, they have a -3 lead for the spread.
Yeah, I believe the game is
It's at Washington.
At Washington, yeah. I believe they're the home team, and that's why they're the favorite. But I'm going to go with Stanford on this one. I think they just have a little bit more offensively. I think Christian McCaffrey is going to shine here. He seems to love the big stage, so this is going to be it for him so far in this young season. And I think Stanford, coming off of really a nice last-minute win against UCLA. Granted, I think they should have handled UCLA a little bit better, but they stuck into the very end and played with all they had in the last possession where their quarterback looked good and delivered at the end. So I'm going to go Stanford in a mid-scoring affair of 31-24.
I'm going to go with the home team. I'm going with Washington in this one. I think they might actually have enough on defense to not stop McCaffrey, but
slow him down.
Yeah, make it ugly enough game to where they can get out ahead of them. So yeah, I think Washington's built to actually be able to beat the Stanford team. So I'm going to take Washington 27-22. Get a safety in there or
22.
All right. I'm going to go with Washington on this one. I do like my man McCaffrey, but he can only do so much. Last week against UCLA, they competed with them. They had a chance to even win the game. This time they're going to be playing against Washington, who I think is a better team than UCLA. I think they could just hit harder, just play a little bit more physical, overall just better talent. Plus, Washington is playing at home too. So I think, they're going to have the crowd to back them up and everything. So I think they're going to try their best to stop McCaffrey as much as they can. I think they're going to do enough to stop him to the point where they're just going to outscore him enough to win. So I do have Washington winning this one. I have them winning 24-17. Put that there. Then up next we have Wisconsin at Michigan. Michigan has a minus 10.5 lead for the spread.
10.5.
Yes,
that seems a little big for me, but I'm gonna go with Michigan. I think they have figured out a little bit what to do with their run game. They're still using a slew of running backs. But I think they figured some things out. I think that offensive line took a step forward against Penn State. Granted, Penn State didn't have a lot of depth at the line, at the defensive line positions, but that was still the biggest defensive line Michigan had seen this year, and they ran on them. I think Wilton Spate will throw the ball better this week. They're going to need him to throw the ball better this week. I think that's something they're going to work on. They're going to work on giving him some easy pass plays to build the confidence to hopefully open the deep ball up. But I'm going to take Michigan 24-17.
All right.
I'm going to go with the underdog here. Wisconsin, they shut me up last week, of course. So I'm gonna roll with them here. Their defense looked ferocious. If they can do a lot of the things that they did against us against Michigan, similar thing that they're going up against first year starter at quarterback. If they can get pressure, if they can stop the run, I think it'll be a long day for Michigan. It'll still be a close game, but I'm going to go with Wisconsin 28-24.
All right. I'm going to go with the underdog as well, Wisconsin. I just think, man, Wisconsin, they looked just marvelous last week against State. They were already up here in Michigan last week. And, they're coming right to Ann Arbor. They had a tough crowd to play with in Michigan last week. They're going to play with another tough crowd in Michigan. That defense, like Darnell said, they look ferocious. I think they're going to hit the trenches. Their quarterback, he played pretty well last week, too. So I think he's going to be confident coming into this game. the key thing was, Michigan versus Colorado. That game just still sticking with me a little bit. They let them just hanging a little bit too much with them. So, like I said, this is going to be Michigan's first test. Wisconsin, they've been tested already a little bit this season, so I just think they're going to be prepared for this game. So I have Wisconsin winning this game 27-24. Yeah, so nobody's going with the 10.5 spread, huh?
No. Wow. I think what we've seen out of Wisconsin shows they should cover the spread.
Yeah.
If well, I guess in Vegas's books, covering the spread's winning. So.
Yeah. All right. The game that I really want to see, Louisville versus Clemson. Who do you guys got?
Louisville. I picked against them against Florida State and was 40 points wrong. So I think sometimes you learn a lesson the hard way. And I said this last week, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. So give me Louisville. 35-21.
All right.
I am going with Louisville as well. Tyler kind of touched on it a while back. I'm not sure that Clemson has a well enough equipped defense to stay close enough in this track meet. I know the spread is close on this one, but it's going to take a national championship performance out of Deshaun Watson, I think, to keep this one close. I think Louisville is as good as them on offense and probably a little bit better on D. Though, I mean, the numbers bear out that it should be two good defenses playing against each other. I just feel like Louisville's done better against better. So I'm going to go with Louisville 35-28.
All right. I am going to go with the formula Lamar Jackson and Louisville Cardinals winning this game. Just looking at the two quarterbacks, a little disappointed in Deshaun Watson's play this year. This guy has the legs he can take off and move with his feet too. He just hasn't really been doing it as much as I would like this year, where you have Lamar Jackson, this guy, if he needs to get a touchdown with his legs, he'll do it. If he needs to pass it, he'll do it. So just right now, he just looks like whatever he needs to do, he's going to end up just moving the chains and getting touchdowns in this game. So I think Lamar Jackson's going to get at least 5 touchdowns just alone with himself in this game. So I think they're going to put up a good score, high scoring game against Clemson. So I have Louisville winning. I'm going to go with 42-20.
Wow.
Yeah. Lamar Jackson.
Did you guys see the article where Lamar Jackson rated himself and his performance this season? Did you guys see this?
No.
Here's what it says. Lamar Jackson believes, and this is according to ESPN, Lamar Jackson believes he's failing. No, seriously, ask him. He gave himself a D grade after he scored 5 touchdowns against the number 2 Florida State team 2 weeks ago.
Okay, that's just stupid.
I know. But that's ridiculous, though.
Yeah. That guy just,
And then he
that hard on himself.
He went on to say, I think it was 7 incomplete passes I threw, bad balls. And then against Marshall, where he had 5 touchdowns passing, 417 yards, he gave himself an F.
Wow. Let's see if he can get himself an A performance this week. See what that'll be. 10 touchdowns?
A 50-point win's going to be a C+.
You have to throw for a 100% completion.
1,000 yards in a game?
C+.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I read that at work today. I'm like, that's bizarre. That's messed up.
All right, guys. Anything left you want to add for the NCAA football before we move on to the NFL?
I think we covered it all.
All right. First thing first in the NFL, just talk about our team's performance. How did you guys feel about your team's performance last week?
I'll go first this time for you, Darnell.
Okay.
In a losing, really a valiant effort, I think, by the Lions. The defense is going to be their Achilles heel all year. They can't stop anybody. Granted, they did a better job against Tennessee, but I don't think Tennessee has the offense that Indianapolis or Green Bay has. Like, the Lions just got out to a very slow start. I think they were down 21-3 to start that game, but they fought really hard, lost by 7, 27-34. Stafford had a big game after a slow start. Marvin Jones is starting to rise to the top as a potential top receiver in the NFL. I believe he had 7 receptions for over 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. Like that's a monster game, no matter who you are. So I like what we have in Marvin Jones. He's starting to open up the ball down the field. Golden Tate still needs to get going. He's having a very poor start to the year. He doesn't even look like he's the third option in the offense. It looks like it goes Marvin Jones, Eric Ebron, who's having a nice start to the year, and then whoever the running back is, then Golden Tate. He just doesn't seem to be getting the ball very often. And I think once he gets going, this offense will take another step forward. But the defense needs to figure it out. Now, granted, I wasn't expecting a win against Green Bay. I think anybody would have been dumb to say they were going to go in there and win again in the Lambeau. Only one win since '93. So I think we got what we expected. I just don't think I expected Detroit to fall behind so early and then storm back so late. Granted, I do think Stafford should be throwing the ball all over that Green Bay defense. That Green Bay defense was hurt. They were depleted, and Stafford really racked it up after the first quarter on him. And I think he should have been able to do that. I think Stafford, so far Stafford's looked like a top quarterback, throwing the ball very well, quite accurate, throwing touchdowns. And I said it at the beginning of the year when we were kind of doing a prediction for the Lions. I really thought we were going to see more production out of some of the guys that we are seeing production out of. We saw it out of Abdullah and Riddick in the passing game. Now Abdullah's out for the year. So we're going to need to still see it out of Riddick and now Dwayne Washington, who's the number 2 back. We're starting to see good production out of Eric Ebron. He's catching the ball really well. He doesn't seem to have the drops that he had last year. So Stafford's losing his tunnel vision for Calvin Johnson, and I think it's paying dividends for the Lions. It's just the fact that they should have won that game against Tennessee. In my opinion, they should be 2-1, but they're not 2-1. They have a favorable matchup with the Bears this coming week, so I expect them to pick up a win there. And I expect Stafford to look good again. So a 2-2 start for the Lions. As long as they win next week, I won't be too upset with that. I would have picked them to probably be 2-2. In all fairness, I kind of jokingly picked them against the Colts, but they ended up winning that game anyway. But I will take a 2-2 start, considering they don't have much of a defense. And I thought it would have taken them a little longer to figure the offense out.
Yeah, I mean, the first half looked like I was expecting. I thought Packers were going to come out with a vengeance because of them losing at home to them last year, and Aaron Rodgers basically was pretty locked in. But I was impressed with that the Lions fought back. Mm-hmm. I thought they were probably just going to give up and pack that one up and get ready for next week, but they fought through, so they didn't end up getting blown out. So I give them kudos for that. But as far as my team goes, Cowboys, I think they did what they should have done. They played a depleted Bears team, playing with a backup quarterback. Starting running back got hurt early in the first quarter. Basically set up for them to easily win that game, which they did 31-17. Got decent outings out of the players that you want to see play well. Dak Prescott, 19 for 24, so he was pretty efficient. Had a touchdown. Ezekiel Elliott, a lot of carries, 30 carries for 140 yards. No touchdowns. The touchdowns on the ground came from Prescott and Alfred Morris, but overall good game there. And even with Dez Bryant getting nicked up in that game, Prescott, he's spreading the ball around. 4 receptions for Terrence Williams, 7 for Cole Beasley, who seems to be his ever-growing security blanket. And, Dez still had 3 receptions before he had to take a seat. Witten, a couple catches. Elliott, a couple catches. Team's coming along. And the offense is doing enough to keep the defense from off the field. And the defense is playing a little bit better than expected with them not having much talent. So, overall, good game. I'll take 2-1. Yeah, so, there you have it.
Who do they play next week?
They play the 49ers, another game they probably should win.
Yeah.
Just for me, just real quick, Baltimore Ravens, typical Ravens football. They played Jacksonville. They won 19-17. I would have liked the score to be a little bit further than that. But Ravens defense, they did sack Bortles 4 times and got 3 INTs off of them. So that was good for the defense. Flacco, he did throw 29 out of 40. They just love him throwing the football, but he did throw 2 INTs with no touchdowns. So, with him throwing the ball that many times, I want to see some touchdowns out of it, and no interceptions at all. The running game, I still would like to see them do more out of that. Looks like they used West more than Forsett this game. West, he got 10 rushes, 45 yards, while Forsett, he got 7 for 20. So still like to see that running game just develop a little bit more. Steve Smith, 8 receptions for 87 yards. Pretty good game. Flacco, just don't want to see the 2 interceptions and, want to see some touchdowns out of him as many times as he's throwing the football. And, good job by the Ravens defense, but that score needs to be further away. But they're 3-0 right now, so they're getting the job done. But I think they should, even though they're getting the job done, they still should do a better job, just overall. I just think they should have had a better score than that against Jacksonville. So a win's a win, though, so I can't complain. Could be, sorry like Detroit, but I'll take it. All right, guys. Anything else about your team?
Nope. No.
All right. About to talk about Bill Belichick and the Patriots for a little bit. Just thoughts about Bill Belichick and his plug-and-play QB situation right now.
Do you want to? All right. I think we all can agree that Bill Belichick's probably the NFL mastermind right now, seeming to find gold wherever he looks. But I think what's kind of worked for the Patriots is the fact that, one, their defense is stepping up.
Yeah.
Shut out the Bills, really limited the Cardinals, and limited the whoever else they played. It doesn't even matter because nobody pictured them to be 3-0, and nobody's going to care how they did it at this point when they get Tom Brady back. They just did it. And what I think what Belichick's so good at is he creates a great game plan based around what he has at quarterback. They've gotten great production out of LeGarrette Blount through 3 weeks. He had a really big game against the Bills, or against Bills?
The Dolphins.
Yeah, whoever they played last week.
Oh, last week.
Anyway, I'm drawing a blank. But
the Texans.
Texans, that's right. So he had a really good game there. But it's the idea that he's not asking the quarterbacks he's not asking them to beat Tom Brady, which is very smart. Each quarterback knows what they can and can't do, and Belichick's working around it. Secondly, he's not asking them to single-handedly win the game. Granted, they haven't had Gronkowski, so they've needed good work from Danny Amendola, Chris Hogan, Julian Edelman, Martellus Bennett, LeGarrette Blount, and they've gotten it there. The thing that I think is scary at this point is even though they're scoring points, the defense is looking better than the offense, which I don't think anybody wanted to see that happening. Because when Tom Brady's back, Gronk seems to be healthy now. We should see a better workload from him this week coming up. I just think that this Patriots team is very scary. And if they're 4-0 without Tom Brady, they could potentially run the table this year. They did it a few years ago, but that was a different team. But I think nobody imagined 3-0. I know I didn't. I wouldn't have imagined 4-0. The only question is what's going to be the quarterback situation this week, as we learn. Brissett had a torn ligament in his thumb. It'll be interesting to see what happens there in terms of can he throw, can he not throw.
What I heard today, I think they said, I'm going to make sure I get his name right, Garoppolo?
Yep, Jimmy Garoppolo.
Garoppolo. What I heard today, I think they are expecting one of them to be ready for Sunday. So
yeah, they were saying that Jimmy Garoppolo, his shoulder was bothering him last week and he didn't play. Saying he should be ready to go this week. So it's going to be a question mark as to what they're going to do at quarterback. Worst case scenario will probably be Edelman has to play quarterback, but he has the college experience there, not the NFL experience. Yeah. So I still think either Jacoby Brissett or Jimmy Garoppolo are going to be there at quarterback. But either way, I think the Patriots are going to be favored. I think Gronk being seemingly healthy this week, they'll get good production out of him. Just another weapon to add to the what seems to be not skipping a beat New England Patriots. So interesting week for them ahead, especially with the quarterback situation, but that defense has been strong enough to hold them together easily. So they just look strong and like a team to really be reckoned with.
Yeah, I mean, they built their team so well, but I mean, it's almost seeming like you can give Belichick a week with a ape and he'll have a serviceable quarterback. I just don't understand it. I mean, third string quarterback. I mean, he didn't light the world on fire or anything, but I mean, it's perfectly fine. 11 for 19. So threw for a high percentage and didn't make mistakes, had some nice runs, a long one for a touchdown. Like, you can see why people start to hate the Patriots. They just figure out ways to just stay perfect even where everything is lining up where they should be struggling. It's almost like Brady is probably at home laughing right now.
Yeah.
They fought hard to give him those 4 games off, and he's still
like it's doing nothing.
Yeah, he's still about to walk into a at worst 3-1 record.
Yeah.
So it's like the rich get richer.
Yeah.
Now, just looking at this, does this make Tom Brady look overrated in any way? When he had the injury to 1 year, they had Castle. Castle looked pretty good with the Patriots. Now he's got to deal with this suspension. This is the last week for it. Garoppolo, he looked good. Brissett looked good. Does this just kind of take anything away from Brady's accomplishments at New England?
Well, I mean, you can't take the rings off his fingers. So I mean, he did win those Super Bowls. He played well in those Super Bowls. I mean, you can question how much of a system New England has, because I mean they do seem to just still win games no matter who is playing quarterback. Brady is definitely not like, just if you throw him on another team, they're not going to be terrible or something like that. Or that the team you throw him on is not going to be terrible. But yeah, I mean, I think it opens the door to question a little bit, just like, I mean, is Brady this god of football that we make him? I mean, over the years, I tend to lean more as Belichick knows what he's doing, as far as putting pieces together to win football games, and he puts people in the right positions to win. Brady, he prepares for every game. He does what he needs to do. He's had some magnificent performances in games, but he seems to be in the best circumstances possible. He has a great organization. He has quite possibly the best coach in NFL history, doing things for him, who is also the GM for the team, basically.
Yeah.
So,
and I mean, just real quick, not take anything away from Brady at all, but he said he's got the rings, but that defense, the years he won a championship, that defense and that kicker that they played a huge role in that success. But still not taking anything away from him. There's still rings. He still needed to move the ball some. So
yeah, I mean, Brady didn't become like really a prolific thrower until Randy Moss came into the picture.
Yeah.
And after that, the beast we know of as Gronk now opened things up for him. I mean, he seemed to be more of a game manager. He had some games where he threw for a lot of yards still, but it was a lot of short yardage throws that would break open for big plays. Through the years, though, he's become more of a vertical passer. But I mean, Brady's a very good quarterback. He's always going to be mentioned in that, with those top teams. But he's never had to do more with less, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, 4-time Super Bowl champion, 3-time Super Bowl MVP. You're not a slouch in doing that. So, I mean, we're not going to blame Joe Montana for being on the 49ers. We're not going to blame Terry Bradshaw for being on the Steelers. So we can't blame Tom Brady for being on the Patriots.
Yeah.
It's just how it is.
Can agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything else about Brady or Belichick, guys?
When will they lose?
Could be this week, man. We'll see. But what teams are, the season is early, still early, but what team is catching you guys eye the most in this young season?
I would probably go with the Denver Broncos. That defense still looks stout. But Trevor Siemian's managing well. He's not looking fantastic. Granted, he just had a really good week. But, I think he's looked good enough. C.J. Anderson's having a bounce-back year. He looked almost irrelevant last year, and he's looking really good so far this year. Demaryius Thomas is still reliable hands. Emmanuel Sanders is still reliable hands. I didn't expect them to be undefeated at this point. But I think Trevor Siemian, and where I think it differs from Carson Wentz, is once we learned Sam Bradford was being traded, and I'm still very impressed by the Philadelphia Eagles. Their defense looks pretty good. Wentz is impressive. But the thing is, we expected Wentz to be the starter. And being the second overall pick, you're expected to be good.
Yeah.
With Trevor Siemian, he was on nobody's radar until it was announced that he's in consideration. So he really came out of nowhere. He's getting some good help, don't get me wrong, but they've beaten I think most notably beating the Carolina Panthers was a huge victory for him. Being able to be 3-0 with the defense that they have and the weapons he has around him on offense, I still think it's very impressive because he had the learning curve. He was the one who had to step in and be used to being an NFL starter. Everybody else had the experience. He was the one lacking. And I think that's what makes Denver so impressive for me, is the fact that Trevor Siemian has stepped in, being a game manager. He's not going to blow teams out of the water, but he has definitely done what it takes to be off to the start that Denver needed.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a good pick for a team that's been impressive. I mean, it's good that that defense is still ridiculously good, but he's stepped up and been serviceable. I took my cracks at Simeon at the start of the year.
We all did.
Yeah. So, but I am actually very impressed with the Eagles.
And me too.
I know Wentz was a top pick, but nobody was really impressed with this quarterback class. So he's come out and he's been like not just like serviceable as a rookie quarterback. He's been good.
Yeah.
And Philadelphia defense that I thought was going to be not very good, they've stepped up as well, and 3-0 leading the NFC East. A division that looks like is better than most people thought it was going to be as well. So that adds more to it for me.
Yeah, and I would say with Carson Wentz, he's throwing like 20, 25-yard fade routes to the opposite sideline. Like he's throwing back shoulder passes that a lot of veterans still can't make. I mean, he looks like he's going to shape up to be the future for the Eagles.
Just for me, man, I got to give props to when it's due. A team that I'm kind of surprised with is Minnesota. They've been dealing with some issues so far this year. Just to say, Bridgewater. He's been injured. They go in there, they get Bradford in to help fill in the role for them. They still, manage to win. Then you have AP. He's basically, out for the year, and they still managed to pull out a win last week. So this team, man, they've been overcoming that adversity so far this season. Like I said, the season is still young. We still got a lot of football to see, but just so far, that team's just been overcoming whatever's been thrown at their way. You guys kind of brought up Winston and the Eagles. They've been doing their thing too. But I'm just kind of shocked with Carolina and Arizona so far this year. They're 1-2. Carolina did lose to Minnesota. I was just talking about them. But just kind of shocked that they're starting the season off just in the fashion that they are right now. So those just kind of teams I'm kind of like wow, I expected a little bit better from them. But just overall, Minnesota, they just, you want to talk about adversity and overcoming it. That team has just been rolling taking the punches, just rolling with the flow and just overcoming week after week. So got to give them their props.
Yeah.
Now, you guys ready for the pick'ems?
Yep.
All right, so I was 0 for 7 last week, and I went 5 for 5 again. So me and Ty, we're tied right now, 5 for 12, and Darnell, this idiot, he's right behind us, 4 for 12. So step your game up, man.
Okay.
Oh man,
this dude is all of a sudden Copernicus.
All right, guys. We got to get them out the way with Detroit versus Chicago. Detroit, they have a -3 lead for the spread in this game. Who do you guys have?
Give me the Lions. I think they'll control this one. Chicago just doesn't have enough on offense or on defense. I'll take the Lions to win this one pretty controlled. 34-14.
Okay.
garbage time touchdowns from Chicago as well.
All right.
What'd you say the spread was on this one?
-3, Detroit.
Wow. I mean, this is definitely a game Detroit should win. A lot of the times the games they should win, they lose.
Yeah.
But I am going to go with Detroit. I mean, everything's in their favor. Chicago has I guess there's a possibility Cutler could be back, but they could be playing once again with a backup quarterback and running back. So I'll go with Detroit to win this one 27-17.
All right, I'm going to go against Detroit, man. I just think they're going to just have their same old Lions moments. I don't know. I think this game is going to be rough for them. It's going to be a pretty close game, but I just think Detroit, they're just going to find a way to just give the game away, even though they should win this game. So I'm going to go with Chicago. I do have it being close, so I'm going to go with Chicago winning 23-20. And up next, we have Kansas City versus Pittsburgh. Kansas City does have a -5 lead for the spread.
Oh. I think I'm gonna roll. I think I'm gonna roll with the underdog on this one as well. Not as well, but I'm gonna go with Pittsburgh. They played terrible last week, but they have a bright spot of their star running back coming back.
Yeah.
So I think that might give them a little offensive pick-me-up. So I'm going to go with Pittsburgh winning this one 34-27.
All right.
Yeah. A reason this one's so hard for me to pick is because Pittsburgh is coming off a terrible offensive performance while Kansas City's coming off of a great defensive performance. So it's like, are we going to see a repeat or are we going to see polar opposites? And that's kind of tough for me to judge. I'm going to go Pittsburgh here. I think Darnell kind of gave the key factor away in Le'Veon Bell. Mm-hmm. I think he's going to be able to. No, I'm not saying D'Angelo Williams hasn't done well, because he has done really well filling in. He did the same last year. But I think Le'Veon Bell just gives them a little more. I'm going to take Pittsburgh in a close one, 27-24.
All right. I'm going to go with Kansas City on this one. Like I said last week, they're a boring team, but they just get it done. Their defense has been playing well, kind of like what you just mentioned, Tyler. Pittsburgh, they do have Bell coming back. I just think he's going to be a little bit rusty coming into his first game of the season, with the suspension and everything. But once he gets going, I think he's going to be a beast and be in tip-top shape, just like he was playing, before everything, suspensions and everything started to get to him. So I think he's going to be playing great. I just think not this game. I just think he still needs to loosen up and still get a feel for the team out there. So I'm going to go with Kansas City. I think their defense is going to step it up against that awesome offense in Pittsburgh. So I do have Kansas City winning this one 24-17. Up next, we have Carolina versus Atlanta. Carolina, they have a -3 lead with the spread.
Yeah, I think we get a bounce-back week here from Carolina. Atlanta coming off of a great offensive performance behind both running backs, Tevin Coleman and Devontae Freeman. But I think Carolina just presents a little more to deal with, especially on the defensive side of the ball. So I'm going to take Carolina in a bounce back week for them. I think they're going to look better this week. Cam Newton's going to do his thing here. Atlanta isn't exactly known for their defense, so I think Cam Newton's going to have a field day. I'll take Carolina 35-27.
All right. I'm going with Carolina as well. I think this is a big one for them that they need it. Division game. So I think they come in focused on this one. it'll be a better defense that Atlanta is facing. They got the defense that everybody can put up points on in New Orleans. So I'm going to go with Carolina in this one, 28-23.
All right. I'm going to go with Atlanta in this one. They've been playing rough. Last year, I think this could be the time where they start to turn it around. So I just think this is going to be a game where I think Carolina's truly going to miss Norman. I think they're going to connect a lot with the ball, passing, especially deep. I think Julio, he's going to have a good performance. And I think they're just kind of a little confident heading into this game just with that last minute win they had against Carolina last year. So just think Atlanta, I think they're going to be confident. They're playing at home. And like I said, I think this is going to be a game where Carolina's really going to miss Norman. So going to go with Atlanta in this one. I got them winning 27-20. And last but not least, Buffalo versus the Patriots. Will the Patriots go 4-0 without Brady? The Patriots, they have a -4.5 lead for the spread in this game.
Yeah, I think they go 4-0. I think it doesn't matter who starts the quarterback now. I think LeGarrette Blount's been offering a lot, and I think we're going to see a lot of him again. Someone who is going to play a big role moving forward for New England is going to be Rob Gronkowski. We saw him on the field for 14 snaps last week and only one target. So I think he's going to get rolling this week. I think he'll find the end zone. Then he'll be all set to go for when Tom Brady's back. And then I think since they play Cleveland, that'll be a nice little warm-up for Tom Brady, week 5. But, yeah, I'm going to take New England here in a closer game. I'm going to take them 27-17.
All right.
Yeah, they made me look stupid last week, so I'm not picking against them again. New England, like I said, doesn't matter who's at quarterback. They'll probably have a decent game. They can pull somebody out of the crowd and they'll throw for 150 and complete 70% of that. So yeah, give me New England. Rex Ryan will have something dialed up to try to keep the game close, but still give me New England 21-17.
All righty. I have New England winning this one, too. I think this is going to be a game where, Brady and the boys can laugh at the commissioner after this game. So they went 4-0 with the whole, Deflategate issue and everything. Rex is going to bring it, as always, like when he wants to play, when he goes against the Patriots. He's going to just go full head of steam at him. But I do think, just with Belichick, these guys just getting more and more confident after each game. Like you said, Darnell, they could put, a dog in there, do an Airbud or something, at quarterback, and they'll find a way to win. So these guys, they're just finding a way to win. So I'm just going to roll with them again this week. I do have the Patriots winning 27-17 against Buffalo. All right, now that closes it up, guys. Just anything you'd like to add, whether NFL, NCAA, basketball, volleyball, or whatever, anything.
No.
All right. What about you, Darnell?
I'm all good.
All right, just with me, we lost some talent. We didn't talk about on the show this week, with the whole Arnold Palmer and Jose Fernandez. I believe I said his name right. Just lost some talent this week. Guy that had a huge role in the golfing world, and a guy that was just making his name in the MLB. So to their families, everybody else out there that's grieving over a loved one and everything like that. Heart goes out to y'all. And as always, guys, appreciate you for listening to the show. You can check us out on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, podcast.com. Like I said, just search us. We'll appear, should appear, through after you enter us in your search bar. So as always, guys, thanks for listening. Take care.